Hey everybody, today we are going to write a mixed number as a decimal. So we're first going to look at our example where we have it in word form, 1 and 46 thousandths. So we're given it in mixed number form. We have our whole number 1 and 46 over 1,000. Then we're given it in expanded form. We have our whole number 1 plus 46 over 1,000. And then they just break it up in place value, 1 plus 40 over 1,000 plus 6 over 1,000. And then we know we can divide our 40 over 1,000 by 10, our place value 4 hundredths, and then 6 over 1,000. And then in decimal form, we have 1 and 46 thousandths. Then problem number 1 says, in the example right up here, what does the 0 in 1 and 46 thousandths mean? So it's talking about this one right here. It just means that there are no tenths in that number. So whenever you see a 0 in your number up here, it just means there are no digits that are present in that number. All right, problem number 2, fill in the missing information in the table below. So we have 3 and something over 100. Well, I'm gonna come down here and take a look, and then I have 3 plus, I've got 72 over hundreds. Well, that tells me I'm going to put 72 up here in my missing information. Down here, when I'm going to expand that information out, I'm going to go ahead and put 70 over here, and then 2, because remember 72, I'm going to just stretch that out. So 70 and then 2, I'm going to stretch out my 72. And then I'm just going to come down here and I'm going to divide 70 and 100 by 10. This is going to be 7. And this is going to remain 2. And then to write that in decimal form, I'm going to have 3 and 72 hundredths. I'm going to flip my page over. It says, fill in the blanks to write numbers and words to show the values of the digits. 4 and 72 hundredths is blank ones and blank hundredths. So how many ones are in 4 and 72 hundredths? Well, there are 4, because anytime I have that word and, that's going to be my decimal point. So ones, that's place value. So there are 4 ones. And how many hundredths? Well, it tells me there are 72 hundredths. And then it tells me 72 hundredths is how many hundredths and how many hundredths. So they just kind of want me to separate those hundredths out. So I'm going to take 70 hundredths and then 2 hundredths. And now they want me to do it by place value. So 7 tenths and 2 hundredths. Because remember, most of the time we're just looking at place value. That's what this is all about. This whole lesson is all about being able to read and write place value. Number 4 says, write the decimal 4 and 72 hundredths in the place value chart and then write it in decimal form. So we've got 4 and 72 hundredths. So my ones is going to be our 4. I'm going to go ahead and put that decimal point right there. 72 hundredths. So I'm going to have 72. And I don't have any thousandths, so I'm just going to leave it there. And then it says write it in decimal form. And whenever I write it in my place value chart, I go ahead and I already have it written right here. So that's really helpful for me. So I'm going to have 4 and 72 hundredths, and it's written just like that. Number 5 says, when a decimal is written in word form, what indicates that the equivalent form is a mixed number and not a fraction? So I think when the word form has a whole number followed by the word and, so I'm just going to write that word and give it an exclamation point there, that tells me it's going to be a mixed number. So when the word form has the whole number followed by the word and. So my students know that I really stress that word and to represent a decimal. They're all shaking their heads yes at me right now. Number 6, the length of an eastern gray tree frog tadpole can be as long as 5 22/100 centimeters. What is this length written as a decimal? Well, here's that word and. So it's going to be 5 22/100. That right there is our hundredths place value. So I could write it a couple ways. I could write 5 22/100. It could look like that, but it asks me to write it as a decimal, which looks like this. So 5 22/100, and then centimeters. I'm going to make sure I put the appropriate abbreviation. So it's going to look like that.